So thank you, Sue, for inviting us back, and I'm absolutely delighted to be back here again with you. So I'll start off this evening explaining what Midwives in Mind is and how we developed, for anyone that has never heard of us or did not watch the last programme back in July. So if you could, thank you, Julie. So in December 2020, we started a RCM Midwifery Leadership and Development Programme. This is a yearly programme. The purpose is to enhance leadership skills of future leaders and develop innovative ways to improve maternity services. Myself and Julie, along with Dr. Tina South and Stacey Keane, who unfortunately are not able to be with us this evening, were putting a group together from the steer group. So the purpose in putting this group is to develop an idea. It was an idea that was originally created by Stacey Keane, which focused on employee wellbeing. Employee wellbeing was very much needed in maternity services even before the pandemic, but we need it even more now. We are not experts in mental health or wellbeing, but we are 4 midwives. We are passionate about finding ways in which we can nurture and support each other, and our aim is to improve the mindset of midwives, help create routines and positive habits. We are all working under pressure during the pandemic, and we increased level of stress, staff shortages and increasing demands. And also the families that we care for are frightened. They don't want to catch COVID while pregnant, and they're concerned by the restrictions on birth partners attending labour with them. And because we care, we worry about them too, and that impacts on us. On top of all that, we've all got personal lives too, and that impacts on how we are feeling. So Midwives in Mind, we know we aren't going to solve the midwifery crisis, but we feel that if one of our posters changes the mindset of someone for that day, or it has a positive effect on someone, then we've done the job that we set out to do. Personally, Midwives in Mind has helped me. When we started the leadership programme, due to the pandemic, I was finding it very difficult to achieve a work-life balance. I was a midwife. I was part of a community team that's very close-knit, but at home, my husband was shielding, and I was finding it very difficult to fulfil my role as a midwife and keep my family safe. So I felt fortunate that I was put in a group focusing on self-care at a time when I was not looking after myself. It really made me think more about why it's vital to look after myself and how can this positively impact the people around me. Can you put the next slide on, please, Julie? Okay, so initially our idea was piloted in Cwmtaf, Macdonald, where Stacey works. Our focus is on 4 main areas, which is better sleep, physical activity, eating well, and mental well-being. Following on from this, we then rolled out our project into the areas where me, Julie and Tina South work. So this is where we are now. So this is the social media side of Midwives in Mind. So in previous years, at the end of the leadership course, delegates would present their projects to each other in person. However, due to COVID restrictions, we were not able to do this in the usual way. So I had an idea once the programme finished to set up a group where we could present our posters so that anybody that wanted information about employee wellbeing could access the posters at any time. So I just suggested that Instagram might be a good platform for us to do this. The project was called Employee Wellbeing. After the brainstorming session and a few different name changes, we became Midwives in Mind. After an overwhelming response on Instagram, Dr. Tina South developed a Twitter account, and later we set up a Facebook group also. Everything seemed to evolve very quickly, and we never anticipated the response that we got, and it's been brilliant, and we can't believe it. So I'm going to hand you over now to Julie.
Hi, thanks, Cara. So as Cara mentioned, it was from this leadership programme that it was all developed, the RCM and Welsh Government Leadership Programme. And through that, I can only have what I can describe as an awakening, really. We'd come together as like-minded people, having experienced, as Cara mentioned, challenges in our personal and professional lives. Myself, in my position, I was a full-time carer, but also holding down a full-time lecturing post. And I couldn't see the positive in many things. Life was quite challenging and difficult. And it was through this programme and through working with people like Cara and Stacey and Tina that helped me to discover the positive in myself. Another factor that was really changed me was the idea of coaching within the programme. I myself have been plagued by doubts that we all have. You know, am I good enough? I'm not very brave. I'm not a trailblazer. I definitely had some imposter syndrome. And when talking to somebody, and I think that's an important element of what we talk about here, is talking to somebody else. Once that is vocalized, it makes it so much easier to grab hold of and deal with. And when I talked to my coach about these feelings of inadequacy and not feeling brave, she took this in and she said, right, okay, let's go back to the beginning. How did you come to midwifery? And I told my life story and all the things that had happened, including, you know, problems in work, money problems, the breakdown of a marriage, all these things that happen in life. But finally I said, I got to be a midwife. And she stopped and she said, well, that's brave, isn't it? Do you not think what you've done is brave? And all of a sudden I could see what my self-worth was. And through seeing that, I could see I could allow myself some self-care as well. It really was a light bulb moment for me, because I'd realised that, you know, as I'd become removed from who I was, I'd also become removed from the people around me. So I started to reframe my thoughts about myself to become more positive, from a more positive stance, and quickly realised that my sense of self became more important to me, not only to myself, but to others. I was reading Dr. Jan Smith's book the other day, Nurturing Maternity Staff, which is a fantastic read, it really is. And she noted that staff, when overtaken by stress and anxiety, we may see, like witness a lessening of emotional resources and possibly a lack of empathy. And I could see that in myself. You know, as we care less for ourselves, inevitably, we care less for others. And this was a position I didn't want to be in. I'd recognised this and I knew things had to change. So taking those first steps of acknowledging this, you know, it's invaluable. Recognising the barriers to achieving your own well-being and own optimal mental health, but also recognising the facilitators as well, looking at the positives, what helps you to have sound well-being and good mental health. That's so important. So working in the university, it was pleasing to see when we started to develop the new programme to align to the new nursing and midwifery standards. It was really pleasing to see that the similar care approaches and the recognition of achieving self-care and well-being had become a part of the regulatory guidance. The NMC standards talk about the need to manage personal and emotional challenges of work and workload, uncertainty and change, and incorporate compassionate self-care into their personal professional life, and to recognise and respond to vulnerability in self and others. And this really was something that we had, you know, were setting out to do. So it was a natural step then to incorporate this approach into the education landscape for midwifery students. And this has resulted in our new validated practice assessment document having a separate section, its own section for self-care for the student, where we've harnessed some of the ideas and some of the toolkits for well-being and good mental health. One of them is the PERMA model here. PERMA was born from the study of positive psychology and human flourishing. And I love that phrase, human flourishing. I think it's fantastic. And its leading protagonist, Dr. Martin Seligman. And the concept, the ethos of positive psychology is the scientific study of the strengths and virtues that enable individuals and communities to thrive. The field is founded on the belief that people want to lead meaningful and fulfilling lives and cultivate the best in themselves and enhance their work and their play and their love, all those experiences. And later on, this was adapted to have, and originally it was the PERMA, and later on it was adapted to have the H for health. So P, positive emotions for improving well-being, engagement, doing things that we enjoy, so really taking time to partake in hobbies, relationships, authentic, energizing connections with others, meaning, So a connection to something that's bigger than ourselves that we can be part of. Accomplishment, that belief and ability to do things that matter to us. And obviously health, eating well, exercise and well-being. We also looked at another very simple approach, which I've adopted, and I must admit, I was a bit reluctant at first. I thought this is not going to work, but it's been a fantastic thing to do, is the 3 good things approach. So 3 good things asks you to either at the end of the shift or at the end of the day, think about 3 good things. So one thing that you've enjoyed, and that could be anything, such as somebody leaving an open box of chocolates in the staff room. One thing that went well, you know, I actually found a car parking space today. One thing that you're grateful for. So, for example, the SHO says, don't worry, I'll take the bloods. Something as simple as that, but it's those little things that put you on that positive note, put you on that positive ground. And I've adopted it at home. You know, my husband and I talk at night and say, go on then, so what are your 3 things? And I'll tell you my 3 things. But it just lightens the atmosphere, it lightens the load and lightens the conversation. They're so important. But we know, as Sue has mentioned, we know that midwives and maternity care providers are facing challenges out there, more so than ever at the moment. And I think we were talking the other day, you know, that this initial high where people were showing their appreciation for NHS staff at the start of COVID, that seems to maybe have ebbed away, and we're left in a little bit of a limbo, but still expecting to do the role. We, just in preparation for this this evening, did a short survey on an Instagram page, and although not a large cohort, the figures coming back were indicative of the findings that you see in things like the Wellbeing study and Hunter's work, and in other reports. When asked around, questions about, do you feel supported in work? Do you have a good work-life balance? Do you make enough time for self-care? These were the results we got back. So 80% of people felt that they do not make enough time for self-care. 91% that said that current demands at work does impact how they feel. 71% said they did not feel supported in work, and 75% said they could not achieve a work-life balance. And that's really worrying, and it's not a great place to be in. So we are striving to maybe put a little bit of a silver lining around that cloud. It may be a small thing that we can offer, but we really hope that it does make a difference to people. That it can change sometimes just the outlook. If you're feeling alone that day, or feeling that nobody understands, we're there, and we hope to be able to offer that sort of help. I'll hand back over to Cara.
Thank you, Julie. So we really need more than ever now to make time to reach out and supporting each other. Looking at what units are doing individually to help support their staff, but we find an increasing number of units are making time for things such as an end of shift work huddle. So it's an opportunity for staff to thank each other for the work they've done today. They can discuss any worries and a time to reflect on how staff felt in a safe space, in a safe environment before they go home at the end of the day. This also allows an opportunity for a senior member of staff to highlight any concerns about an individual member of the team, and this can be addressed personally. Have an opportunity to discuss the day. It may help the team let go of some of their thoughts before they go home. Also as well, it's really important for conversations about well-being to be embedded into maternity service, and it needs to be open and honest conversations on a regular basis. So it's vital that we are led right now by caring, compassionate leaders who let the staff discuss their feelings in a way that they're not judged, and looking at personal and religious beliefs. And management need to have the knowledge to signpost staff to appropriate support, and there needs to be more training for all staff to recognise signs of mental health in not just others, but in themselves also, and how we can address this if we are concerned by someone. If you could pass over to the slide, please, Julie. So this evening, we'd like to share with you some practical tips and ideas of how to help with your well-being. hopefully this evening you'll take away one or two of our ideas and try some things for yourself. I could sit here for hours telling you different things that we've kind of brought together over the last year in different ways. So I think I'll sort of start off by talking about a morning and evening routine. So your routine before your shift and at the end of the day. So you may find you start at 7 o'clock in the morning and you don't have long to get ready in the morning, or you may find you work a little bit later and you have got that time for a proper morning routine. The way we start our day can set up our mood for how we're going to feel for the rest of the day. So even if you've got 10 minutes or an hour, then you can adapt some things. So looking into kind of routines, washing your face as soon as you get out of bed, just having that cold water on your face can really refresh how you're feeling. You could do some morning stretches, which only will take a couple of minutes, but it can really help. And it's fun drinking a glass of water. So a cold glass of water in the morning can really help. And another thing is don't rush your breakfast. And it may be, you may not have it till later on in the morning, maybe 10 o'clock on your shift, but having a little bit later, but sitting down and properly having a breakfast before you go to work or in the morning. So I know when I used to work in the hospital, I used to work with a healthcare support member staff, and every morning on our shift on the ward, she would always lay the table. She'd put a tablecloth, she'd put plates down, she'd have cups, and you knew that when you were working with her, by around 10 o'clock, you knew that she was getting ready, and everybody on that shift, she would make sure that everybody sat down, they had a drink, they had a piece of toast, and you just refuel for the rest of the day. And I know to a lot of staff that meant a huge thing. And it was just tablecloth on the table, but it really made you think, oh, well, now it's time for breakfast, because you'd be up and down the ward, you'd see that table ready, and it kind of reminded you, yes, I do need a break now. I need to sit down and have my breakfast and refresh for the rest of the shift day. So going now to the end of the day, so I've discussed already about work huddles, but after the shift, even on a normal day, we do tend to overthink things. We relive the day and we think about what we did, what could we have done, and we question any mistakes that we've made. When we're anxious, we turn on ourselves and give ourselves a hard time. We don't put any focus into the things that went well that day. It may only be 5 minutes that was a bad day, but you will go home thinking of that 5 minutes rather than the rest of the day having positive experiences. It's very difficult to separate our personal and professional lives, but we need to make an effort and discipline ourselves to try and switch off for the sake of our physical and mental well-being. So once you've left the hospital and you're on your way home, you could start by playing some feel-good music. So last summer, we created a Midwives in Mind feel-good playlist. So it's on Spotify. So if anyone would like to listen to this, then you can go on that on your way home, have a listen. There's some really, really good uplifting songs which you can listen to. And I think it's just good to have that music on your way home there. As soon as you get in from work, having a shower or relaxing soak in the bath and changing into comfortable clothing is important now that you're thinking about recharging your batteries and unwinding. It's been found that being organised for your next day, such as getting your clothes and bags ready for tomorrow, means there's one less thing for you to think about, and one less thing on your mind can make you feel a bit better. A big one is switching off your phone in the evenings as well, or even just turning off your notifications. I know I'm really bad for having my phone there, and if I see a flash in and there's another notification, I would have that tendency just to look at my phone. But if that doesn't flash, then I wouldn't look at it so much. So that's something that I personally need to do. Looking at your phone in the evening can overstimulate your mind. Flicking through social media can cause you to overthink, compare yourself to others, and create negative thought patterns which can be detrimental upon you. Writing down how you feel that day. So maybe after a difficult shift, you could write your thoughts down on a piece of paper or keep a journal. And it has been found as a positive way to release overwhelming thoughts and help you let go of them. So you can go back maybe, and you may not want to read them again, or you may find that you want to go back and see how you felt and how you are progressing. And then lastly then, so 5 minutes of meditation at the end of the day has been proven to calm the nervous system. It helps you to recognize your thoughts and release them. So there's so many apps available online readily for you to support you, to help you to meditate. And 5 minutes is not saying about doing things for hours every evening. Just that 5 minutes, taking yourself to a quiet space, to a quiet room, can help you to sort of gather your thoughts. and also going to sleep early and making sure that you sleep in a room that's clean, tidy, and no clutter. And just remember, it's important to try and accept the day for how it went. Likelihood is you went to work and did your best that day, and that's all that matters, really. That's the most important. You did your best. So I'm going to go on to physical activity now. So personally, for me, physical activity is very important, and this is my biggest area of self-care. So I really believe that being physically active can improve your physical and mental health. I enjoy challenging myself, and I really enjoy seeing the progress of when I exercise. So last July, I pretty much stopped exercising totally, and it's not like me to do that. The current challenges in maternity services left me feeling burnt out. I was always tired, I felt overworked, and as a result, I felt lazy when I got home. And the last thing I wanted to do was go running. And unfortunately, I withdrew from the London Marathon, which was very disappointed because it was just the way I felt, and I just couldn't face training for a marathon. And I'm so disappointed, but it was how I felt at the time, and it was the right decision that I made. But I got in a vicious circle of feeling lethargic. Even though logically I knew being active would make me feel better, I just could not get out of that cycle. And it was until about November that I stopped doing nothing, and I gained weight, I felt terrible, but I got back to being physically active in around November. So it did carry on for a while, but I'm getting back there now. I don't like to set myself big goals because I find it can be overwhelming. But this year I started writing to-do lists, and every day exercise is the top of my to-do list. And so far I have exercised almost daily, and I do feel completely different for it already. So I returned to doing weight training, and I've got a love of running again. So while I'm not telling everybody to go and train to do a half marathon, like today is a beautiful sunny day, it was a cold, crisp winter morning, get out and go for a walk. Maybe start a Couch to 5K program, just get yourself moving a little bit more. Or if you don't want to go out, you like doing things in the comfort of your home, you can go on YouTube, and there's so many quick and easy accessible exercises that you can do. So think about activities that you enjoy doing, because I think if you enjoy doing something, it doesn't become a chore, and that's half the battle, and you're more likely to keep going and doing that. Can I have the next slide, please, Julie? So on our social media platforms, we post regular posters, quotes, daily routines, which you can see on here. If you look on our page, we've got so many different ones of evening routine, morning routines, managing anxiety, and these are just some examples of what we do create. So we would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your positive quotes and any posters you create, whatever ideas you have to help with wellbeing. We'd love to share them on our platforms and give everybody the chance to have a go at creating some of these. And last slide, please, Julie. So it's just really important to just remind us that we're currently dealing with unprecedented and complex times, and it can be very challenging to deal with anxiety, depression. While Midwives in Mind, we offer support and practical ideas to help you think about ways in which you can look after yourself. It is vital to open up conversations with your family, friends, colleagues, manager, or your GP if you find coping strategies are not effective or they do not improve your levels of anxiety or depression, and your mental health and well-being is being affected. So here are some useful contact numbers for anybody that is seeking any confidential and emotional support. And just a final thought, that asking for help does not make you weak. It really is a strength. And lastly, people don't fake depression, people fake being okay.